Hello friends and welcome. Patch 7.38c came out right after I finished making a 7.38b support meta video. So here we go. Let's talk about the changes that are no longer going to be in my video when I remake it later. General changes, we have some map changes. I could talk through all of this, but it'll honestly just be easier to show you guys. In the dire safe lane, first of all, they moved this tower a little bit more to the left. And now the creep equilibrium is going to meet right around here, very similar to the radiant side. So we're losing some asymmetry, which is a little bit sad, but also kind of balanced in a way. It was much easier to mess up creep equilibrium by just body blocking a little bit than the creep wave would go under tower here on, like, if you were the dire off lane. So now the radiant off lane can do the same. I'll show you this creep equilibrium when the creeps get here. The camp boxes got changed a little bit. So the small camp got moved. Actually, I don't know if this camp got moved, but the cliff's now here. So they rearranged the trees literally since when I watched it on stream, which if you want the full VOD and everything, it's in the live tab. This tree line got moved over to the left. So previously in the stream, I was telling you guys you could put the sentry here and it'd be really strong because the enemy would still have to waste their time to come over here. They have moved the tree line to prevent that. If you have a quelling blade for whatever reason, or if your carry has one and you have them cut one of these trees, you'll be able to put the sentry here and it'll be a really good place to deward this camp from. Otherwise, just somewhere back here, it'll be protected by the tree line a little bit, and you will, just have the best chance of dewarding it and protecting it against the 4. I do want to point out one sneaky spot. This tree can't be cut by a tango. But if you, again, have a quelling blade for whatever reason, and you put the sentry, like, back there, and we have a sentry that sees the whole camp, it's kind of hidden back there, and you can't see it. I'm sure Valve will change this again once they see this video. So for those of you watching this right away, and you can coordinate this, 4 positions, I guess, go ahead and cut this tree and put your sentry back there. Let me show you where it is. Apparently there's no freaking way to see it without cheats or high ground spells and stuff like that. So that's a cool spot. I mean, I guess you'll just use your tango to eat through this tree line. Over here, they redirected this camp. This is a good balancing change, in my opinion, because it was really difficult to use this camp, especially for the safe lane. So this makes it more similar to the radiant side. And there is a pull that I have now missed, so we're going to have to wait and cut this. Okay, I don't have this down to a science, but I'm pretty sure if you hit this camp around 51 and then come stand here, we want them to attack, and then we want to step forward a little bit. So you can now do a pull at that time. I launched the attack a little bit after 50, so it connects at like 51 and a half if you're a melee hero. Just walk in at 51 and a half, and then you need them to attack you from like around here. This is my very quick testing what works. It might be a little finicky. It's also a lot easier to do connected pulls. We might see that come back. But anyways, that is the main changes for this part of the map. This watcher got moved over here. It's not that big of a deal, but if you are coming into the triangle, this is even more of a reason to be very careful about approaching it from this angle if you're not confident it's safe, and rather approaching from this angle could be safer, because a lot of people are going to put their observers over here, and it's great vision for out here, but it won't see this part. And now there won't be a watcher seeing you walk up here either. That happened to me all the time. So now there's a proper sneaky path in here if the enemy doesn't have an observer there. Over here, they changed this like little ledge a little bit. I think they removed some trees. So this observer is now really good, but you will be able to kill it if there's any sentries over here. There's 2 ledge spots. There's one like right here, and then there's one over here. This one, the top one, can be spotted if the enemy has a sentry somewhere here, and then they like stand at this ledge. They can see this one. Get away from me. But they can't see this one. So if you are going to use one of these spots, I recommend this one. Although this vision is really sick and will be great for fighting Roche. It's just a little bit more out in the open. For item changes, there's a small buff to Deso, small nerf to Mage Slayer, and Orb of Corrosion. This has been such a popular item. I think it still will be. They probably need to add like a little bit of gold cost, like a very cheap recipe to this, and then it'll be dropping out of popularity. I think just 2 negative armor will still be popular. Could be wrong. We'll have to see. Revenant's Brooch, small nerf, small buff to Spirit Vessel. The one I glossed over is the most interesting change. Helm of the Dominator and Helm of the Overlord, the creeps are now considered creep heroes. Now, to be honest, I forget all the exact mechanics of creep heroes. The main thing here from their tooltip is that it can't be dominated, persuaded, or enchanted. So that's like Chen or Enchantress or other Helm Dom owners taking over the creep. Like funny little battles where you both just take over the same creep again and again. Can't be insta-killed by Midas. Mirana's Arrow, I assume Pudge Hook. I tested Doom Devour, didn't work. So that makes the creep stronger and more powerful against certain lineups, which may not have affected you in pubs all that much, but definitely in pro games where like you see the Beastmaster, you see a quick response of like Enchantress or Chen or something like that. I mean, it'll still be good versus Boars, but not the potential Helm Dom build, which like if there was an Enchantress versus you as a Beastmaster, this build was just dead. So that is a pretty big change here. I don't know what other specific interactions might be really good here. I'm gonna not worry about it right now. It's a little too much digging for this time of night. So we'll just see on this in the future. It could potentially lead to more zoo style stuff, but my gut feeling is actually this is not quite enough to fully bring it back on its own. Neutral item changes, a lot of these are relatively small buffs or nerfs, but the big ones are that Mana Draft has a huge increase to cooldown, which I think is perfectly fair. This was such a popular neutral item. It was really good. Polywog's free, spam this shit now. Searing Signet will no longer cancel blinks. The duration actually went up, but they're recoding the damage to be health removal, which does not cancel blink daggers specifically. And other on-hit effects, but the most important thing to know is about canceling blink daggers, because that was really useful with long-range spells. You just touch someone, and then for 5 seconds, it canceled a blink, unless they had some kind of, dispel, BKB, stuff like that. The rest of these are, again, mostly minor, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. The one that kind of interests me is that Wise has been bumped up from 600 to 1,000, but that's a level 25 thing, or a tier 60 thing, tier 5 60-minute thing, so we probably won't see it very often, but it is a lot of XP per minute to help you get to level 25 or like level 30 or something if you do need it in those ultra late game situations. For hero changes, a lot of these were smaller than I thought, so like the best heroes got fairly minor nerfs, the worst heroes got ignored or very minor buffs, and then a couple are just kind of unexpected. So Abaddon is one of the more severe nerfs for meta heroes, and it's not the end of the world either. 1 base armor off. That is kind of impactful for the laning stage. The shield has a little bit higher of a cooldown, and then the Curse of Avernus will no longer work on buildings. That's the core of it. I do think core Abaddon will still be pretty viable, especially in pub games, but just a little bit worse. And in the pro Dota scene, we might see him not always in that like first pick, first ban. You actually have to see like a good Abaddon game, and then you pick him up. This is kind of what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go over every single one of these, but like, I don't see how this helps the hero like at all. Like I do, but I don't, it's like, it's so minor that I can't imagine it bringing the hero back into the meta just because of this. AA was one of the best 5s, and I still think AA is going to be pretty good. There is more mana cost on Ice Vortex. 15 doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to spam this. I haven't played him recently, so I don't know how bad it feels, but I do think that is a good way to target it, because you did want to spam Ice Vortex for vision and the spell amp for these early fights. So I think he still essentially does the same thing. Like this attack range nerf is not that bad, except for the pubs going like Ag, Moon Shard type stuff, which is not the like proper build. Level 1 is 20 range less. That's not that bad. And then this, you just have to be a little bit more careful with your Ice Vortex use, maybe buy an extra clarity. He'll still be a good support. Batrider has a Peepo wide Firefly and some better interactions that don't break Lasso, which is overall a buff to the hero. But I don't expect this to make him very popular in the pub scene. He's never very popular there. Brewmaster nerf doesn't seem that strong. It's like okay, but I feel like his non-ult stuff is his bigger issue. Chen's converts are also going to be creep heroes now. So the one he starts with cannot just be insta-killed by like an enemy Mirana or Enchantress. So should give him more consistent laning stages at the pro level. Pubs, you never see this guy anyways. Darkseer, pretty minor nerf in my opinion. Buff to his other facet, but that's about it. This 10 talent was kind of good, but I still think it's fine. I think Darkseer is still a very strong offlaner right now. Core Dazzle got hit kind of hard, so the Aghanims is no longer going to have increased healing and damage when bouncing on enemies, and then the Nothel projection, the cast range is down, the leash pull strength is stronger, which essentially means the max range is shorter, and the duration also went down. The talent got nerfed a little bit as well, so just kind of like multiple nerfs across the board on this Core Dazzle, which I know a lot of us have found very frustrating recently, but still think it's kind of viable. At the pro level, I don't think it's going to be a first pick Dazzle type stuff anymore. I think you might look for a little bit more info to know it's a good Dazzle game and then pick it. That would be my expectations for where Dazzle's at right now. Dragon Knight lost 15 move speed on his ult at max level. This is super minor in my opinion. This Earth Spirit buff is not enough. This Ember buff, I don't think is enough, but it is in combination with Orb of Corrosion and Mage Slayer, which are items he really likes, so a little bit of a nerf. I still think he's going to be one of the best mids in the game. I could be wrong, though, because I don't play Ember Spirit. Very minor buff to Enchantress, but I think the bigger thing is like the creep hero stuff, which I think is a nerf to her because she can't affect those heroes that she used to easily. Again, not a very popular hero. This one's super sad. Faceless Void, Time Zone no longer leashes, I think just kills support Faceless Void, and maybe even offlane Void. I don't really know why, because they put in Time Zone, and they've been working so hard to get it good, and I feel like it was finally good, and then they're like, no, we miss Chrono. I'm not sure. I hope this comes back. I think this is a really cool way to play Void. It was frustrating to deal with in the worst matchups, but it was a really cool new way to play him, which I thought was the point of the facet. So I don't know. This one's really sad. I wouldn't play position 4 Void unless you just really love it. This seems like it kills it to me. Some buff to Hoodwink. It could help her come back into the scene. I don't play her that much, so I'm not sure. But these damage numbers are better than it looks because it's like every bounce the Acorn hits gets like, say, 20 more damage. But I think the item build is really not great for her. Maybe with the Sharpshooter buff, along with her new Sharpshooter facet, could allow her to get a lot of kills at level 6 with a little bit more Acorn damage too, and then that might be a way for her to be played. Jakiro, really stable, position 5. I don't think he's even broken. I just think he's really stable, but he is getting some nerfs. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think this dual breath change, if you watched my Jakiro guide recently, if you haven't, you should. If you did, though, dual breath, I haven't played it yet. I think what I would do is leave it at level 1 now. Go QEE or EQE and then max W. I think that'll be my default build for this mana change. Unless I really think it's a good dual breath game, then I might still max dual breath first, but at least up to level 3, I am going to try EQE or QEE, depending on what I think I need. If you need more information on that, go watch the guide. I think this is a buff so that he doesn't jump to the wrong targets, but technically also means if your target dies, you don't have a better chance of jumping to a new target. So I don't know. But this is not nearly enough to bring Juggernaut back into the meta. Keeper, I think, is actually really good, but you have to be playing in a party. At least one other person with you. I think Keeper support's really good. If you guys want someone to watch Save on BetBoom. He is a really good Keeper of the Light player. There's others as well, so, pick your favorite. But I think they have been running a really cool strategy around Keeper of the Light. And you just imitate that with friends. It is going to be extremely difficult to play this hero in a regular pub game with no coordination as it goes. So I wouldn't recommend it if that's the kind of games you play. Small buff, buff to the facet that no one takes, small nerf to lifesteal. Although the mana cost I think is a little bigger. Small buff, small. I'm actually not sure on this. Buff in the sense that someone's Ghost Sceptered, the glaives aren't going to go to them, so it'll focus on heroes it can actually hit. That's good. Nerf in the sense that sometimes it's a Ghost Scepter target and then one other target. And if it can't bounce to the Ghost Scepter target or attack immune targets, then it's not going to bounce. So I'm actually not sure if this is going to end up being a buff or a nerf, but just a change to be aware of for now, I guess. Buff to Lycan, very minor. Magnus, very, I want to say minor, but it is kind of like, it's kind of a thing. 50 to 30% is kind of a lot. So I still think the Spellcaster Magnus is perfectly fine. The Carry Magnus might have been hurt a bit more by this. We will have to see. I still think he'll be a fairly good hero. I think this is too minor, but the math on this is looking okay. I still think her other spells are maybe going to struggle in the current meta. Medusa was really good in pubs, I guess. I looked at the data because she's not in the pro scene at all, and they just nerfed this. So, I guess, nerfed a Meepo. Muerta, they're buffing Ofrenda, but do the other facet, go Atos Ags. Super strong on position 4 right now. You got to be good at spellcasting, though, and that makes it very difficult. But practice up. It's a really strong support right now. Nature's, some nerfs to it. I still think it'll be pretty good as a core, but he is losing some percentages on all this stuff. Night Stalker, very good position 4. I'll have to try it. I still think he'll be pretty viable, even with this 20% less reduction, 20% less regen at night. I think it'll be okay. Nyx Assassin, that's not enough to bring him back. Omni Knight, don't believe in it. Core Oracle, maybe, with the damage facet and this level 15, but I think it has to be a mid Oracle because you have to hit 15 while other people are still lower level. And then you can kind of, I was testing EEQE is like 1400 damage with no items and no right clicks. So, if a core Oracle having a good game, maybe, I don't know. I'll let wait for Thompson to do this or something. PA, this feels a little bit too minor for one of the best carries in the game to me, but 350 cast range at level 1 is a big deal, and it might get her killed 1 or 2 more times in the lane, which significantly delays the Battle Fury, which significantly delays the scaling. So maybe this will be more impactful than I think. It does combo with the Orb of Corrosion nerf as well. A step in the right direction. I still think she'll be okay. This is a minor. I tested 2 Ringmaster games before making this video. I like the idea here. I think a lot of these are cool. I think it's going to be better in Pro Dota, though, because the painful thing is that only weighted pie is useful in the lane, and these two are not. They're useful for maybe rotating mid, and then Crystal Ball to I think so-and-so is rotating to you, Power Rune fight, whatever, right? I think at the pro level, that's going to be more relevant, and you can use it. It essentially works like a scan that kind of shows a yellow dot where they are. But for a pub game, it's very weird. So I still think the other facet will be better if you like Ringmaster. Minor nerf to Silencer, I really don't think is a big deal. Minor buff to Skywrath, minor buff here. Don't think it's enough to bring him back. Same with TA. Though I think hers is maybe a little bit more likely. I'm just not a TA player to have a great read on that. Very minor stuff. This one's a little more significant. Specifically, is 10 more seconds on Dead in the Water. Still think he's a decent offlaner, though, for what he offers in the right matchups. Minor buff to Timbersaw. Tinker, I don't think this is enough to kill him. In fact, I don't think it even stops him from being a good support. Instead of being the best support, I think he's just now a good support. So if you like Tinker, go for it. You do need extra space in pubs, which can be hard to come by, but he's got great scaling, even though, even with this nerf. Tiny, I think similar. One of the best heroes, now just a good hero. Mid Tiny with Crash Landing and maybe a 4 support Tiny. Don't care. Don't really like 4 support Tiny right now, though. Carry Tiny, gonna suffer a little bit more from this change in particular. Warlock, barely touched. One of the best supports in the game right now. Keep playing Warlock, guys. This is crazy. This is not, I don't even know. Weaver, Bugs can now be killed by going invulnerable, such as Yules. So a lot better if you've been dealing with this. I still think he'll be good. I think he's a really strong position 4 with Hive Mind and maxing Swarm. Wind Ranger, I thought this didn't work this way anyways when I did some testing before the patch, and I guess now it definitely doesn't work that way. I don't know, but she got 3 base damage, so support Wind Ranger with Kill Shot has been seeing some pro play, but I haven't been that impressed by it. Jury's still out on that one. And then I don't think it's enough to make Wraith King viable. Oh, you guys can't even see it. There we go. I don't think it's enough to make him fully viable, but in pub games, I mean, maybe. All right, that's about it. For your pub games, I really wouldn't expect to see too much different. The way you play the Dire safe lane is probably going to be the most noticeable change from this patch, but of course, some heroes will drop down, some heroes will rise up. We just kind of have to see like what the nerfs and buffs truly end up doing. Let me know if you think I missed anything major, but I don't really think there was anything too major in here to begin with. The support meta, core meta will still mostly be the same. What is that meta? I have to now redo the video, but it will be out shortly, so keep an eye out for it. Sneak peek, fight early, get objectives. Good.